All right, AP Psych, excuse me. This is our first presentation for sensation perception. So we'll kind of go over some of the differences between sensation perception and then talk a little bit about the thresholds themselves. So maybe, there we go. So sensation versus perception, really what we're looking at here is going to be the input for the body and then the output or interpretation from the brain. So when we first look, sensation, this is basically how we're going to represent the world around us. Light will become vision, sound waves will become hearing. So basically sensation is getting that information into the neural system. So we have to take light waves, turn them into neural impulses so our brain can read them. We need to take sound waves, turn them into neural impulses, and the same thing for taste. But sensation, this is getting stuff in, so this is like the input. So things involved, it's going to be body to brain processing, meaning it goes from like your nose to your brain, your eyes to your brain, your ears to your brain. Your sensory neurons are going to be gathering the data. They're going to send it to the brain, and then the motor neurons and the other parts of the brain are actually going to interpret it. But here we're just looking at bottom-up processing, and this is just getting information in. So when you talk about being cold, you talk about being hot, you talk about being in pain, those are not sensations, those are perception. Because your brain tells you you're hot, your brain tells you you're cold, your brain tells you you're in pain, so that makes it a perception. So perception, this is how we organize and interpret our sensations, so this is our experience. So this will be brain to body processing. Motor neurons will be relaying and interpreting this information. And then our top-down processing, we're talking about brain to body. So input just gets the information in, light waves, and then your light waves become vision. So when you look at top-down versus bottom-up obviously sensation, top-down is perception. So this is going to begin with the body, the sensoreceptors, the eyes, the nose, the skin, the tongue, the taste buds. Sensory info is going to be sent to the brain. Back. There'll be no thinking involved. This will be purely reaction. So experiences, expectations, they have little to no influence. This is just your body getting that information in. The top-down processing, that's the analysis of the information. So this is how we interpret the sensory information. If we have chill bumps or goosebumps on our arm, then our brain's going to interpret that as being cold. If you shiver, your brain interprets that as being cold. So this is just the labeling and the interpreting of the sensations. And this is where our experience and expectations come into play, because your brain is going to base this off of what you've experienced in the past. So when you look at sensation versus perception, obviously this is a static object, but if you stare at the middle for long enough, and you'll start to see in your peripheral vision that this is movement. Why do we see movement in this? Because there's alterations of color, and that contrast from dark to light will trick the brain into seeing vision or movement when it's not there. So why we like to study optical illusions is so we can see how the brain works. So when we look at our sensations versus our perceptions, light waves are the sensation, the perception is color or vision. Sound waves are the sensation, and that turns into our hearing or audition. And then pressure, cold or hot, those are going to be interpreted by the skin as touch and pain. The main process involved in taking sensation to perception is transduction. And this is basically just taking one form of energy, light waves, excuse me, and turning it into another form of energy, which would be our neural signals. Has to happen so we can interpret the sensations into perception, so we go from bottom up to top down. And for example, all we're talking about with sensation perception, we take that stimulus energy, the cold, the hot, the light, the light waves, the sound waves, and turn that into neural impulse. Here would be an example of what we call phototransduction. Chemical energies will turn into smell and taste. Sound waves into sound, but without this process, there's no way we're able to interpret the different sensations perceptions. So what are psychologists trying to explore with sensation and perception? The main thing we're looking at first is what or how much stimuli needs to cross our threshold for conscious awareness. Is that the same for everybody? Is it different for everybody? And then the second big question I like to ask, and this is really for sensation, can or could we be influenced by stimuli too weak, like subliminal stimulation? Like if I flashed correct test answers, if we were doing multiple choice in between each slide, all you perceive is a flash of light, but in behind that flash of light is an actual test answer. Could you do better on a test? And then that's what we'll talk about the rest of this. And then the third one, because I forgot about that one clearly. Why are we unaware of unchanging stimuli? So how do we become used to, or how do we adapt to these normal or unchanging stimuli? So when do we notice stimuli? Can we notice stimuli below our conscious awareness? And why do we sometimes do not notice changes in stimuli? So psychophysics is the big type of psychology we look at studying here. And all we're looking to do is create the psychological experience with the characteristics of stimuli. So what's the perception of the sensation is really what we're looking at here. This is where instead of using light, we use bright, sound, we use volume, pressure, we use weight, and like taste, for sugar, we would use sweet. They use those just because it more encompasses the sensation or that switch from the sensation to the perception. We look at the different thresholds. This is going back to question 1. When do we detect the stimuli? Main thing to remember with absolute, it's the minimum stimulation needed to detect a stimulus. So when do you notice lights turning on? When do you notice sound? When you start to pick up a sound? So we're not noticing change here, we're just detecting. So if you're the first to notice smell, first to notice light, first to notice touch, first to notice taste, you have a stronger or a lower absolute threshold. So here we're just trying to detect. So thresholds, these, according to this theory, don't have any experience, doesn't play a role. It's when you cross that threshold, you notice it. So like if you have better vision, you're going to pick up on light quicker than someone with glasses or contacts. That's kind of what we're going in here. Now again, this is a theory. This doesn't hold up to every sensation or perception, but it does explain one of the reasons we notice sensations and we can turn them into perceptions. Signal detection theory, this is going to argue the opposite of absolute threshold. It's going to say we don't have an absolute threshold. So this one explains a lot more for what you experience. So like signal detection theory explains why when we're home alone, we hear noises that we normally don't hear. One of the reasons, like if you're home alone at night, you may hear more creaks, you may hear more noises, is because you kind of have this idea that bad things happen at night. So you think that's going to happen, so you hear more things. So here we argue that another way we detect stimuli is our experiences, expectations, our motivations can influence it. If you truly look at the absolute threshold, that theory would be no matter how tired you are in class, you're still going to take in the same information. So that doesn't always happen like that. So we use a signal detection theory and the absolute threshold to explain how we detect the stimuli. So difference threshold, main thing with difference threshold, this is when we notice change. So with difference threshold, what's the minimum difference to notice a change in stimuli? Lights becoming brighter, smells becoming stronger, sounds becoming louder. That's what you're looking at with difference threshold. When we notice things becoming brighter, louder, stronger, we have crossed our difference threshold. We notice the change. And difference threshold is going to be supported what we call by Weber's law. So Weber's law and difference threshold go hand in hand. Weber's law just gives us how we determine difference. the change in stimuli has to differ from a constant percentage, not a constant amount, because you become adjusted to that stimuli very quickly when you go into a new room. So depending on how lit that room is or how illuminated that room is, it's going to have to change by that constant percentage. So when you look, so Weber's law is going to prove the idea of difference threshold, and here are the percentages. This is just to give you an example, like the only time you notice light becoming brighter, it has to increase by 8%. That's the only thing there. So those are just some percentages. You're not going to get tested on my test of what the percentages are, but just to give you an example there. And then the last, subliminal stimulation. Really said that well. When stimuli crosses, or basically we're looking at this for that second question there. Can we be influenced below our conscious awareness? When movie theaters were a main source of entertainment, like you're talking like 1920s, 1930s, excuse me, oh Lord, they would flash very quick images of food, drink, in between slide reels. All you would see would be that flash of light. If you've seen Fight Club, it's kind of a similar idea, but different pictures. So what they actually reported was their sales of food and beverage, their concession sales, went up by about 20% when they showed those brief images. So we can be subliminally stimulated. The only thing when we look at it, does it work, yes or no? The reason we say yes or no is because those effects are very subtle and fleeting. So like if I would do the correct answers in between each slide, but all you're seeing is that flash of light, unless we took the test directly after that presentation, it's not going to have an effect. But if you would take the test within 10 seconds of seeing that presentation, you could probably increase your grade by about 1 to 3%. So it's not really a whole lot of bang for your buck there, but we can be influenced below our conscious awareness. And that's what we call with subliminal stimulation. So if you have any questions, make sure you ask your AP Psych teachers. A lot of people kind of get overconfident. The absolute threshold is the difference threshold. Don't worry about what that minimum stimulation is. Just know when you notice it, when you notice the change, that's when it's crossed. So